The first one, number 20, which of the following will most likely lead to a decrease in inflationary expectations? Knowing what this is the key to it. We have to plan for prices going up. Businesses anticipate this. People have to as well. So when you look through these answers, you have to think, what makes you believe that in the future prices will decrease? So, as we look at these, a decrease in the marginal propensity to save. That means that people are going to spend more. So if MPC equals MPS, MPC plus MPS equals 1. So if people save less, what are they going to do? They're going to spend more. And if people spend more, what happens to aggregate demand? Causes inflation, doesn't it? Okay. So that is not going to decrease my expectations. If imports decrease, remember we have exports minus imports. So if imports decrease, what is this going to do? It's either going to maintain, we don't know what it's going to do we? No. If that stays constant, are prices going down? No. We're still making stuff, aggregate demand remains the same. GDP remains the same, people use resources, and prices stay steady. So no, it's not that one, and no, it's not that one. And decrease in the money supply. If the money supply is going to decrease, then what happens to interest rates? There's less money out there in the economy for people to use. Is it more scarce now? So what is the use of that money called? The cost of it. The cost of using money is interest, isn't it? So if interest goes up, then what's going to happen to investment? Investment would go down. What would aggregate demand do? If it decreases, doesn't it? Okay, and that leads to no one working, and inflation decreases, doesn't it? Okay, so that whole train of thought makes C a good answer choice. An increase in the government budget deficit. The deficit. Does our government have money? No. If our government has no money, they still spend it, don't they?
Yeah.
Where do they get it from?
Taxes, the reserve.
Well, they've spent all their tax money. It's gone. They borrow it from us, either by borrowing in the shape of bonds or by getting it out of our bank accounts, by borrowing it out of the loan markets. That's called crowding out. So there's a vocab term for you. Write that one down. Crowding out. Okay? Government has no money and they borrow. So if the government borrows, are there any more loanable funds for us? They used it, didn't they? So what does the interest rate do on the loans that are available? It goes up. So the real interest rate goes up, then investment goes down, and blah, 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 blah. We get inflation. Or, not inflation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. All right, so that one's out. An increase in the prices of raw materials. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. If raw materials go up, businesses charge you, don't they? So is inflation going to happen? Yes. So best answer is that one. Did y'all get it right? Make sense? Okay. So thought patterns on these two will lead to that being the best choice. So knowing what this is kind of a big deal. All right. Now, with an upward sloping short-run aggregate supply curve, we know that looks like that anyways, just by definition. An increase in government expenditure will most likely. This is a distractor. Does the supply curve have anything to do with government spending? No. So eliminate that. Increase in government spending does what? Increases GDP. That is a very simple question. This is what College Board does. You have to prepare for it. If you know your stuff, don't overthink it. Get rid of the distractors that are thrown in. Okay? That was just rude of them. If they wanted to know what you knew about aggregate demand, they could have just asked that. But that's what they do. And I hope they watch this video. And I'll point to it like this. You see this one right here? All right. Now, which of the following is most likely short-run effects of an increase in government expenditure? So once again, government spending. Now it says short-run effect. So not only did they put short-run supply in this one, they still put short-run effect in this one. But this one can be aggregate demand. All right. So you have three things. What did I teach you to do about the columns? Go with one you know, cover up, eliminate. This will take you a long time to work through all three, won't it? Okay. But if there's an increase in government spending, there's an increase in aggregate demand. So if aggregate demand is going up, what happens to unemployment? So let's start with here. Aggregate demand goes up. What happens to jobs? Yeah. Because if aggregate demand goes up, what does GDP do go up? It goes up, right? So I look at this, guess what? I know that the unemployment rate is going to decrease. Get rid of you, get rid of you, get rid of you, get rid of you. Okay? I'm sorry, not get rid of you. You're okay still. Alright. Sorry, I need sleep, y'all. Alright. So, I know if aggregate demand goes up, don't people use resources to make GDP? So if we use resources to make GDP, what happens to inflation? It goes up. We're competing for scarce resources to run our businesses. So inflation's going to go up. I can get rid of that one now. So I was just left with these two, and I don't have to worry about that column. Okay? Make sense?
Yes.
Yay. Thanks, Sterling.
You're welcome.